right, guys, we are back again with another lesson from our packet. We're going to be moving on to social studies now. So this is a lesson about using maps and how to do that. So it says, maps help you find out about places. To read maps, you need to know what the symbols mean, to understand the shapes and colors, and to read all the titles. All these features form a picture that describes the location of a place. Think about maps. There are two basic types of maps: general purpose maps and special purpose maps. General purpose maps show countries, cities, or continents, as well as rivers, roads, and oceans. There are two types of general purpose maps: physical and political. Physical maps show major natural features such as mountains, rivers, and bodies of water, or the shapes that make up the Earth's surface. Political maps show how people have divided up the Earth's surface. These maps can show countries, divisions within countries, national borders, and the locations of cities and towns. Special purpose maps can show climates, population density, or product distribution. To read a map, follow these steps. Look at the whole map and read the title. It tells you what the map is about. Look at the legend or key. It tells you what the symbols on the map stand for. Look for the compass rose. This symbol shows you directions on the map. Look to see if there is a map scale. It is a line marked in miles, kilometers, or both. The scale shows distances on a map. Think about the topic. Use the information and think about maps to decide if the following maps are general purpose or special purpose. Write either general purpose or special purpose following each description. So they talked about what general purpose maps are and what special purpose maps are. So we're going to look and see if we can decide if each of these is a general purpose or a special purpose map. A map of the mountains and rivers in the United States. If we look over here at what a general purpose map is, it shows that it can have natural features such as mountains, rivers, and bodies of water. That's what this is talking about. So this is a general purpose. Number 2, a map of where the greatest amounts of snowfall occur. Now this, if you'll think about it, is trying to show us where the most snow falls. Does that seem like a general purpose map or a special purpose? It's a special purpose map because it has a specific purpose. The purpose of the map is to show us where the most snow falls. Okay, number 3, a United States map showing the borders of all the states. Now, this falls under political map because it shows how people have divided up the Earth's surface. It can show countries, divisions within countries, which would be states. So this is considered a general purpose map. Number 4, a map showing where cotton is grown in the United States. Think about it. Does this have a specific purpose or is it just a general map? It has a specific purpose because it's showing us where cotton is grown. So it's showing us something special. So this is a special purpose map. A map showing the population of the world. Now let's think about this. Over here it says special purpose maps can show climates, population density, or product distribution. Population density is what we're talking about. So this is a special purpose map. Just to sum it up, a general purpose map really just shows you the land, can show you natural features, can show you countries and states, but it doesn't really have a specific purpose for showing you. A special purpose map might be showing you certain climates in certain areas, such as snow, rain, the amount of rain that a state has had. It can show you maps of imports and exports, so who is receiving oil, the most oil in their countries, and things like that. So a Another thing is that it can show populations of different countries. So those special purpose maps, you just have to remember, they have a special reason why they're showing you the map. They're wanting to show you information through a map. So that's the difference between general and special purpose maps. Okay. General purpose physical map. A physical map shows major natural features. Look at the map of South America on the next page. You'll see that it shows elevations, how high mountains are and how low lowlands are, rivers, and water depth. The different shapes that make up the Earth's surface are called landforms. A famous landform in South America is the Andes Mountains, a mountain range along the western coast. Other landforms are plains and plateaus. A plain is a rolling, flat lowland. A plateau is also flat, but it is at a high elevation and rises steeply from the area that surrounds it. This map also shows elevations, or the height of the land from sea level. Sea level is the average level of the surface of the ocean, used as a starting point from which to measure the height or depth of any place. Look at the map on the next page. The differences in elevation are shown using different colors. The legend shows that land from sea level, 0 feet, to 500 feet is dark green. Different maps use different color codes for elevations. Be sure to look carefully at the map legend. Okay, so let's take a look at the map. Here's the map it wants us to look at. It is a South American physical map. Here we can see this is South America. It has labeled the different countries in South America. This is the compass rose. It shows north, east, south, west. Labels the oceans. And gives us an elevation key and a water depth key. This also shows us the scale for how much equals 500 miles. So if you take that little bit, that's 500 miles. It says, look at the legend. If you wanted to go to the mountains in South America, would you go to the west coast or the east coast of South America? So let's take a look. If we wanted to go to the mountains, let's look here and see if we can find the mountains. Okay, I found them. They're right here along this coast. You can see where it says Andes Mountains. So it says, if I wanted to go to the mountains in South America, would I go to the west coast or to the east coast? So let's look at this compass rose. This is telling me which direction each way is. So if I go this way, that's north. If I go this way, that's east. This way is south. And this way is west. So which coast, the west coast or the east coast, has the mountains? The answer is the west coast. On these, we don't have to write in complete sentences because these are just short answer. So, west coast. Okay, west coast. Number 2. Find Brazil on the map and look at its coastline. What is the depth of the water along the edge of Brazil? So it wants us to look at Brazil. Let's take a look here. Okay, this whole area right here is Brazil. Okay, it's a big area in South America. It says, look at its coastline. So here's the coastline. Okay. Coastline means it's the edge of the continent that's touching the ocean. What is the depth of the water along the edge of Brazil? Now this is difficult because we copied these off in black and white. In the book, they're normally in color. So we're going to do the best we can to see which shade of gray this is that's on the edges. So to me, it looks like about this shade here. The second shade. Okay, so, oh wait, I'm on the wrong thing. Here along the coastline, okay, now I'm looking at the right thing. We're looking here at the white around the edge. The white around the edge, this is considered the coastline. So it's easier to see here than all these gray colors. This one's white and this one's gray. So on the coastline of Brazil, is it less than 200 meters or 600 feet? Or is it greater than 200 meters or 600 feet? It's white, so we can tell from the key that it is less than 600 feet or 200 meters. So I'm going to do feet, less than 200 feet. And there's our answer for number 2. Now on to number 3. How do you think life is different for people living in the Andes from those people living along the Amazon River? So let's take a look here. The Andes are here. And the Amazon River, see if you can find it. I see lots of different rivers here. And there's the Amazon right there. So, Amazon River is here. The Andes Mountains are here. So it's asking us, how do you think life is different for people living in the Andes from those people living along the Amazon River? Well, let's think about this for a second. The Amazon River is here, and right here, this line is called the equator. The closer you are to the equator, the hotter it's going to be. So the Amazon River is right close to the equator. The Andes Mountains are over here and further south. So the further south you go, the cooler it gets. And not only that, the Andes Mountains are higher in elevation than the Amazon River. So the Andes Mountains are going to be cooler as well. So I'm going to say life is different because it is warmer near the Amazon River and cooler in the Andes Mountains. Now that's not the only difference, but that's one, and as you can see I don't have room for any more. So there are probably many differences between these areas as far as their lifestyle, the way they live, the climate, and things like that. But we do know that life is different because it is warmer near the Amazon River and cooler in the Andes Mountains. Number 4, which region has the most farming? Use information from the map to explain your answer. Which region has the most farming? When looking at the map, I can tell that along the coastlines, that's not going to be a very good place for farming because those are going to be our beaches and things. This is where the land meets the ocean. So that's not really a great place for farming. That's going to be more for fishing and that sort of activity on the outer edges, especially in the mountains. Mountainous land is not good for farming. You need good soil to farm crops. So we need to look more toward the inside of the continent. The thing about farming is that not only do you have to have good soil, but you have to have water to make sure that your plants and your crops grow. So here in this area, we have lots of rivers, and this is a plateau, which means it's flat land. This is, like I said, lots of rivers. There's probably going to be a lot of vegetation, lots of forests. Forests are probably not the best place for farming either. So if I could pick out of all this area the best place for farming, I would probably say here, in this area here, the plateau, because there's water source, and it's flat, and it seems like this would be a good area for farming because it might have good soil. This, I think, is probably going to be too foresty, too vegetated for good farming. And like I said, the coasts and the mountains are not going to be a great place for farming either. So my inference is that the plateau, the Mato Grosso Plateau, is going to be the best place for farming. I'm probably not pronouncing that right, but okay. All right, next page. General purpose political map. A political map shows how people have divided up the Earth's surface. If you look at the map of South America, you can see that the continent is divided into several countries. Political maps can show countries, divisions within countries, national borders, and the location of cities and towns. The map on the next page clearly shows the borders between countries and their capitals. The map does not show natural features. Notice also that the map shows you latitude and longitude lines. These lines crisscross so that they look like a grid. It is used to help locate places on the Earth. Of course, the grid does not really appear on the Earth. People have made up the grid to show where places are located. This imaginary grid covers the entire Earth. Latitude lines run east to west. Longitude lines run north to south. Both latitude and longitude lines are measured in degrees. When measuring latitude, start at the equator, which is halfway between the north and south poles. It circles around the globe and divides the Earth into the northern and southern hemispheres. The equator is at 0 degrees. Notice that the latitude lines above the equator are marked as N for north. Below the equator, they are marked for S for south. Longitude lines divide the Earth into the western and eastern hemispheres. Look at the top and bottom of the map. Notice that the longitude lines are marked W for west. South America is in the western hemisphere. Study the map on page 33 and answer these questions. What is the longitude for the city of Manaus in Brazil? Okay, so here let's take a look at this map. This is a political map, which means it's showing the ways that the land is divided. So it's asking for Manaus. I'm sure, again, I'm not probably pronouncing that completely right. Okay, here it is right here. It wants to know what the longitude is. Okay, now remember, latitude goes horizontally and longitude goes north to south. So it's wanting the longitude line. It's right on a longitude line. And let's find, here at the bottom, you'll see we have 100 degrees, 90 degrees, 80 degrees, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20. So this city here is on this line, and it says 60 degrees west. So that is our answer, 60 degrees west. How many countries are there in South America? So let's take a look. We're going to have to count how many countries there are. So the way I know which ones of these are countries is that they are in all capital letters here, and each country has a national capital too, that's shown by the star. So I can count stars, or I can count the big words or the big names in all capital letters. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, let's try that one more time. I might have missed one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So our answer is there are 12 countries. 12 countries. What is the capital of Brazil? Let's take a look at Brazil. Here's Brazil right here in all caps. This is a country. And let's look at our key. National capital has a circle with a star. Major city is just a dot. So we need to find in Brazil the circle with the star, and that is Brasilia. So Brasilia is the capital. B-R-I-S-I-L-L-I-A. The next question says, name a major city in Argentina that is not the capital. So, Argentina's here, all caps. We don't want the capital, so we don't want the one with the star. We want a city that just has a dot. So Cordoba is a city with a dot. That means it's a major city. So, Cordoba, C-O-R-D, O-B-A, Cordoba. Okay. Then we have number 5. What countries in South America does the equator run through? Well, let's take a look. Here's the equator. This line right here, so I'm going to kind of darken it a little bit. We need to know what countries the equator runs through. So let's look at our map, and we're going to look at this line, which is the equator, and we have to see which countries it runs through. So this country right here is Ecuador, and it barely runs through the corner of Peru, and then we have Colombia, and then Brazil. So our answer is going to be Ecuador, Colombia, Peru, and Brazil. Number 6 says, what is the latitude for the city of Quito in Ecuador? So let's find the city of Quito. I'm sure I'm probably not pronouncing that right. And let's find where the dot is. Kind of wrote over a little bit. Oh, it's right here, the star. And we're looking for the latitude. Now remember, longitude goes north to south, and latitude goes east to west. So right here is the circle with the star on it, and we're right here on the equator. And we have 0 degrees, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Remember, the equator is 0 degrees. Quito is sitting right on the equator. So the answer is the latitude is going to be 0 degrees. Okay. Special purpose culture map. Culture describes how groups of people act, how they live, what they eat, and what they believe. It also describes how people change their environment and create communities. Cultural regions are land areas where people share similar lifestyles. Notice that each region shows a similar climate. There are hot regions, dry regions, mild regions, and very cold regions. Think about the climate in the region where you live. Is it hot, mild, dry, wet, or cold? The people in your region probably have some experiences that are similar to the ones you have. For example, if you live in a very hot region, your homes may look different from the homes of people who live in a very cold, wet region. The type of plants that grow in your area will also be different from the plants found in a very cold area. Think of the sports you play. In a tropical region near the ocean, you might go surfing. If you lived in a cold, snowy area, you might go sledding. Geography plays a large part in the lifestyles and similar experiences we share. The culture map on the next page shows the major Native American culture regions or nations of eastern North America. Think about the geography of the land. How do you think the culture of Native Americans living in the eastern woodland differed from the Native Americans living in Middle America? Use what you know and the map to support your answer. So we're going to turn to the next page and look at our map. Our map is titled Native American Cultural Regions of Eastern North America. And here you can see, this is North America, and South America is down here, which we just got done looking at. The question it's asking is, how do you think the culture of Native Americans living in the eastern woodland, which is this area here, differed from the Native Americans living in Middle America, which is here? Use what you know and the map to support your answer. So we just got done talking about how different regions have different climates, and our experiences are often based on where we live. So what kind of experiences are going to be different between these two regions? This area right here is the eastern woodland. So as you can see, it's in the northeastern part of North America here. And Middle America is down here toward the Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea. The areas that we're looking at here are quite different from one another. Therefore, the people's experiences and their lifestyle are going to be different. So one way that they're going to be different is down in Middle America, it's going to be much warmer. If you'll remember, we talked about how the closer you get to the equator, the hotter it actually gets. So Middle America is much closer to the equator than eastern woodland, so it's going to be much hotter. Also, you can see here, they're surrounded by water on both sides. So their lifestyle and their livelihood is probably going to depend a lot on what they can get from the ocean, from the Gulf. Here, they've got a lot more land, so I would imagine that they probably do more farming the further inward you go. And here on the coast, they probably do some fishing. But those are just a few ways that the geography would affect the lifestyle. So I'm going to make sure to write this in complete sentences. I'm going to say, and again, I won't have room to write everything, so I'm just going to write maybe one example for each. Their lifestyles would differ because in the eastern woodland, the climate would be much cooler, while in Middle America, it would be much warmer. And again, that's not the only difference. I'm sure the sports and activities and things they take part in are different. Their livelihood's going to be different based on what they do for a living and the crops they can grow, what they can hunt, what they can gather. And so it's going to be a lot of different things, but I just gave one example for that. So their lifestyles would differ because in the eastern woodland, the climate would be much cooler, while in Middle America, it would be much warmer. And we're going to stop there today, and then tomorrow we are going to finish up the rest of the social studies portion and be finished with this packet. So I will see you tomorrow.